I am Commander Vekrath, first Talon of the Zarynth Dominion, breaker of sieges, collector of surrender codes, and architect of 43 peaceful assimilations. Peaceful in the sense that no shot needed to be fired. When your fleet darkens a sky and your reputation arrives hours before you do, violence becomes inefficient. Lesser species understand this. They look upon inevitability and choose survival. It is logical. It is proper. It is the natural order of a galaxy that has already decided who stands at the top. So when the Dominion assigned me a small blue world on the edge of an unremarkable spiral arm, I did not consider it a challenge. I considered it a formality. Humans, the brief dossier had said. Recently industrial. Fragmented governance. Limited orbital presence. No evidence of unified planetary defense. Cultural volatility. High internal conflict index. The analysts had attached a footnote, something about unusual adaptability, but analysts always need something to justify their existence. Adaptability does not stop a fleet. We translated into their system with the usual precision. 300 vessels unfolding from hyperspace like a blade being drawn across reality itself. Our formation, the crown of finality, spread wide enough to eclipse their star from their own perspective. It is an old tactic. You do not begin with destruction. You begin with awe. Commander, Subtalon Rex reported, his voice steady with anticipation, initial scans complete. Population approximately 8.9 billion. Atmospheric composition degraded but stable. Energy grid inefficient. Multiple independent political entities. No unified command structure detected. As expected, I replied, settling into the command cradle as the bridge dimmed to ceremonial lighting. Their species will fracture under pressure. They always do. There is more, Rex added, a slight hesitation entering his tone. They have an extensive network of communication satellites. Redundant systems. Decentralized control. I waved a claw dismissively. Primitive redundancy. It will not matter. Below us, their world turned slowly, clouds drifting over continents filled with noise, signals, life. Chaotic life. Billions of individuals arguing, building, consuming, existing without direction. I had seen it before. I had ended it before. Prepare the opening broadcast, I ordered. Full spectrum. Visual and auditory. The Dominion did not rush these things. First contact was theater. Precision-crafted intimidation layered with just enough mercy to allow surrender to feel like a choice. Our anthem began to resonate through the void, a low, harmonic sequence designed to trigger unease in a wide range of neural structures. It had reduced entire councils to silence. It had made warriors drop their weapons. Signal received on their networks, Rex said. They are amplifying it. Amplifying? I turned slightly. Explain. They are rebroadcasting our transmission across their own channels. Civilian networks included. I allowed myself a small nod. But let them spread their own fear. But there was something in his posture that did not align with success. Commander, he said slowly, their data traffic is increasing exponentially. Visual feeds. Commentary. They appear to be discussing us. Of course they are discussing us, I replied. They are witnessing their future. No, Rex said, and now there was something else in his voice. Confusion. Not like that. They are sharing images. Creating alterations. Alterations. Visual distortions. Adding features. Text overlays. Humor indicators. I stared at the tactical display as fragments of their transmissions were decoded and projected. Images of our fleet, our perfect formation, our flawless design, modified. Exaggerated. Labeled with symbols and phrases I did not yet understand. One image lingered. A depiction of our flagship with additional, absurd protrusions, accompanied by a string of characters translated as something approximating big lizard energy. Silence settled across the bridge. Is this a form of psychological resistance? I asked. I do not believe so, Rex answered. There is no coordinated pattern. It is spontaneous. I leaned back slightly, studying the chaotic flood of human response. No organized panic. No unified plea. No signal of surrender. Only noise. Laughter indicators. Rapid exchanges. A species reacting not with fear, but with commentary. Curious, I murmured. Shall we proceed with the formal demand? Rex asked. Yes, I said, though my focus remained on the data. Open a direct channel. Select a representative at random. There was no need to speak with leaders yet. Leaders would come when the pressure mounted. First, you let the species feel small. Channel open, Rex confirmed. Visual established. The display shifted. A human appeared. Smaller than expected. Soft features. No visible natural weapons. Seated in a confined structure surrounded by primitive instrumentation. The being looked directly at me, and for a moment, I saw it register my form. Then it did something no species had ever done in my presence. It smiled. Whoa, the human said, leaning closer to its interface. Okay, that's actually real. There was another voice in the background, distant. What is it? You need to see this, the human replied. Like right now. I straightened, allowing my full presence to fill the frame. I am Commander Vekrath of the Zarynth Dominion, I began, my voice calibrated to maximum resonance. You stand before a force that has brought entire civilizations to their knees without resistance. Your world has been selected for assimilation. Comply, and your species will be preserved under Dominion law. Resist, and you will be erased. The human blinked. Then it looked slightly off to the side. Hey, it said casually, are you recording this? The pause. Yeah, the other voice answered. Why? The human turned back to me, eyes bright with something I could not immediately classify. You gotta keep this, it said. This is amazing. Behind me I could feel the shift on the bridge. Not fear. Not yet. Something else. Something unfamiliar. I continued because protocol demanded it. You will transmit your planetary leadership immediately, I said. All military assets will be decommissioned. All governing bodies will submit to Dominion oversight. You have 72 of your rotational hours to. Wait, the human interrupted, raising a hand. Hold on a second. I stopped. Not because I was commanded to. Because, for the first time in my career, I was unsure if continuing would have the intended effect. The human leaned back, studying me with open curiosity. Sorry, it said. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. You guys came all the way out here, did the whole dramatic entrance, music and everything, just to tell us to surrender? There was no fear in its voice. No tremor. No hesitation. Only interest. Yes, I said slowly. The human nodded. Okay, it said. That's honestly kind of impressive. A beat passed. Then it grinned wider. But also a little extra, you know? Something shifted inside me. Not doubt. Not yet. But for the first time since I had entered this system, the outcome no longer felt certain. For a moment, I did not respond. Across the bridge, every eye was fixed on the human. On the way it leaned casually in its seat, one arm draped over its controls as if this were an idle conversation and not the arrival of a conquering fleet. The background noise from its side continued, voices, movement, something metallic clanging faintly. You find this amusing? I asked, my voice lowering, not in anger yet, but in something sharper. The human tilted its head, considering. I mean, it said, a little yeah. Behind it, the second voice came closer. A larger human stepped partially into frame, squinting at the display. Whoa, the newcomer said. That's the alien? Yeah, the first replied. Commander Vekrath, I said. Right, Commander Vekrath, the human repeated. He's doing the whole submit or be erased thing. The second human let out a short laugh. Man, they really went all in, didn't they? I felt my secondary pulse spike. You stand before the Zarynth Dominion, I said, each word precise. We have subdued species far more advanced than your own. Entire armadas have surrendered at the mere detection of our presence. Your casual tone is inappropriate. Inappropriate, the first human echoed as if tasting the word. Yeah, fair. Sorry about that. It paused. Then it leaned forward again, resting its chin on its hand. But you gotta admit, this is kind of surreal from our side. Explain, I demanded. Well, the human said, gesturing vaguely toward the void behind me, you show up with, 300 giant ships, all glowing and dramatic, playing spooky music, and then you open with a speech that sounds like it's been workshopped for maximum intimidation. That speech, I replied coldly, has ended conflicts across 43 systems. Yeah, the second human said, folding its arms, I can see that. The pause. Just not here. The words landed with a weight far greater than their volume. Behind me, Rex shifted slightly. I did not look at him. You have not yet understood your position, I said. This is your first and only warning. You will comply or you will face consequences beyond your comprehension. The first human exhaled slowly, then sat up straighter. Okay, it said. Serious question. I waited. How long did it take you guys to plan all this? Silence. Because, the human continued, completely unfazed, the formation, the lighting, the music, the speech, there's a lot of coordination there. Did you rehearse it? Or is it like a standard package you run on every planet? I felt something tighten along my spine. This is not a performance, I said. It kind of is, though, the second human muttered. The first one nodded. Yeah, no offense, but it definitely has a vibe. Like, theatrical intimidation. High production value, though. Solid commitment. My claws pressed slightly into the armrest of the command cradle. You are trivializing your own extinction, I said. No, the human replied quickly, raising both hands. Not trivializing. Just trying to understand the process. It glanced off-screen again. Hey, are we live-streaming this yet? We are now, the other voice answered. Good, the human said. People are gonna love this. Something in the air shifted again. Commander, Rex said quietly from behind me, their global networks are fully engaged. Billions of viewers. They are broadcasting this interaction in real time. Of course they are, I replied, though the words felt different now. They are not reacting with panic, Rex added. Emotional indicators suggest amusement, curiosity, engagement. Engagement. I focused back on the human. You are displaying your defiance publicly, I said. You are encouraging your own people to resist. The human shrugged. Not really. We're just watching. Watching what? You, it said simply. That answer unsettled me more than any threat could have. I will repeat myself, I said, forcing the conversation back into structure. You will connect me to your planetary leadership. Immediately. Yeah, we can do that, the human said. No problem. Relief flickered, brief and controlled. Finally, I thought, structure. Great, the human added. But quick heads up. What? They're probably gonna be worse than me. Worse, I repeated. Yeah, it said, grinning again. You caught me mid-shift. I'm just a transport pilot. They deal with stuff like this for a living. The second human leaned closer to the camera. Actually, it said, you might want to redo your speech. Tighten it up a bit. Maybe cut the part about inevitable assimilation. It's a little on the nose. I rose slightly from my seat. I will not alter my declaration for your comfort. Fair, the first human said. Worth a shot. It reached toward its controls. All right, it continued, patching you through to Earth Defense Command. There was a brief flicker in the signal. As the connection shifted, I felt something unfamiliar settle beneath my confidence. Not fear. Not yet. But anticipation had changed shape. For the first time in decades, I was no longer certain I was speaking to a species that understood how this was supposed to go. The screen stabilized. A new human appeared. This one was older. Composed. Wearing a uniform marked with symbols of authority. Its posture was upright, its gaze direct, its expression controlled. For a moment, I felt something return to its proper place. This, I thought, is how it should be. Identify yourself, I said. The human studied me for exactly 1 second. Then very slowly, the corner of its mouth twitched. Well, it said, that's definitely real. Something inside me tightened again. My name is Admiral Hayes, the human continued. Earth Defense Command. The pause. Then it leaned slightly closer to the display. And you must be the one everyone's talking about. I am Commander Vekrath of the Zarynth Dominion, I said, restoring my full posture. You now speak for your species. Choose your next words carefully. Admiral Hayes regarded me in silence for a moment, as if measuring something invisible. Then he nodded once. All right, he said. Let's do this properly. Finally, structure returned. You have entered sovereign space without authorization, Hayes continued. You have deployed a large-scale military formation and initiated a system-wide broadcast. State your intentions clearly for the record. I allowed a slow breath to pass through my secondary lungs. This was familiar ground. Your world has been selected for integration into the Dominion, I said. You will surrender your governing authority, dismantle your military assets, and submit to oversight. Compliance ensures survival. Resistance ensures annihilation. The bridge was silent. The human command center behind Hayes was not. Even through the transmission, I could see movement, figures turning, screens flickering, subtle reactions passing between them. Hayes did not react immediately. He leaned back slightly in his chair. Okay, he said. The pause. Yeah, we're not going to do that. The words were delivered with the same tone one might use to decline an invitation. For a fraction of a second, I wondered if I had misinterpreted. You are refusing, I said. Correct. No negotiation? Not on that point. I felt my claws tighten again. You understand the consequences, I said. Hayes gave a small shrug. We understand what you've told us, he replied. We just don't agree with it. Agreement. The concept was irrelevant. This is not a matter of agreement, I said. It is a matter of inevitability. See, that's where we differ, Hayes said. You think showing up with bigger ships makes something inevitable. It has for 43 civilizations. Right, he said. And I'm sure that worked great on them. Another pause. But we're not them. The words were simple, but they did not carry defiance in the way I expected. They carried certainty. Behind him, one of the humans failed to suppress a short laugh. Another turned away quickly, shoulders shaking. Is something amusing? I asked, my voice sharpening. Hayes exhaled slowly through his nose, as if restraining something. Not amusing, he said. Just familiar. Explain. He leaned forward now, resting his arms on the surface in front of him. Commander, he said, humans have been threatening each other for a very long time. Different languages, different flags, same basic idea. Do what I say or something bad happens. That is the foundation of order, I replied. No, Hayes said calmly. It's the foundation of escalation. The room behind him grew quieter. We've had people with bigger weapons, he continued. Stronger armies. Better technology. Every time, they thought the same thing you do right now. That resistance is futile, I said. That they were the final authority, Hayes corrected. That nobody could say no. He tilted his head slightly. Turns out, people say no anyway. I felt irritation begin to rise. You are not people in that sense, I said. You are an underdeveloped species facing a superior force. Hayes smiled faintly. Yeah, he said. We've heard that one before too. Behind him, a voice called out, ask him about the moon thing. Hayes waved a hand slightly without looking back. In a minute. He returned his attention to me. Let me ask you something, he said. When you show up like this, what usually happens next? You surrender, I replied. But before that, there is resistance, I said. Brief. Disorganized. Ineffective. And then they understand. Hayes nodded slowly. Okay, he said. So from your perspective, this conversation, it's just a step in a process. Yes. And you're waiting for us to reach the part where we panic. That would be advisable. Another pause. Hayes leaned back again, studying me. Here's the thing, he said. We're not panicking. That is evident. And we're not going to, he added. I felt the need to reassert control. You have 72 of your hours to reconsider, I said. After that, we will demonstrate the consequences of your refusal. 72 hours, Hayes repeated. Yes. He glanced to the side as if checking something off screen. All right, he said. You can keep your timeline. That was unexpected. You accept the terms? I said. No, Hayes replied. We accept that you think those terms matter. Something in my chest tightened again. Commander, Rex said quietly behind me, their tone remains unchanged. No escalation in stress markers. Of course not. They simply do not understand, I said. Or, Hayes said as if hearing the thought through the silence, we understand perfectly. The bridge lights seemed dimmer for a moment. Then you understand what will happen to your world, I said. Hayes met my gaze without hesitation. You're going to try and scare us, he said. Try. I repeated. Yeah, he said. That's usually how this goes, right? Big demonstration. Show of force. Something explodes. A voice behind him again, definitely gonna blow something up. Probably, Hayes agreed. He looked back at me. And you think that's the part where we change our minds? It always is. Hayes smiled again, but this time there was something different in it. Not amusement. Recognition. Okay, he said. Then go ahead. The words landed harder than any refusal so far. Proceed, he continued. Do your demonstration. Show us what you've got. A quiet ripple moved through my bridge. They are inviting escalation, Rex murmured. They are ignorant, I replied. But even as I said it, something did not align. Hayes folded his hands. We'll be here, he said. Watching. Watching. That word again. You will regret this, I said. Maybe, Hayes replied. Then he added, almost as an afterthought. But probably not. The channel closed. For a long moment, no one on my bridge spoke. Then Rex turned slightly toward me. Commander, he said carefully, what are your orders? I stared at the empty display. At the absence of fear. At the complete lack of the reaction that should have already begun. Prepare a full-scale demonstration, I said at last, my voice steady again, even as something beneath it shifted. Target selection? I paused. Then I chose something distant. Something uninhabited. Something that would still send the correct message. Find me something they think does not matter, I said. Rex inclined his head. As you command. As the fleet began to reposition, as weapons systems charged and energy built across 300 warships, I allowed myself one final certainty. They would understand soon. They always did. And yet, as our formation tightened and the void itself seemed to hum with contained destruction, one thought remained where it had no place being. They had told us to proceed. And they had not sounded afraid. The demonstration began with precision. 300 warships adjusted position in perfect synchronization, the crown of finality tightening into a striking formation. Energy surged through our systems, weapon arrays cycling from dormant to lethal in a controlled cascade. Across the void, space itself seemed to glow as containment fields struggled to hold back what we were about to unleash. Target acquired, Rex reported. Outer system. Natural satellite. No detectable life signatures. Good, I said. We are not here to exterminate. We are here to instruct. The pause. Charge all primary arrays to 60%. I want spectacle, not waste. Acknowledged. The bridge dimmed further as power diverted. The hum deepened, vibrating through the structure of the flagship itself. This was the moment that ended resistance. The moment lesser species realized that their survival was no longer in their control. Ready on your command, Rex said. I did not hesitate. Fire. The void ignited. 300 beams of contained plasma lanced outward in perfect convergence, crossing impossible distances in seconds. They struck the moon as one. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the surface began to glow. Cracks spread like fractures in glass, lines of molten light racing across the sphere. The entire body shuddered, its structure failing under forces it had never been meant to endure. And then it broke. Massive sections tore free, drifting outward in slow, silent arcs. The core destabilized, collapsing inward before erupting outward in a violent bloom of debris and incandescent fragments. Within moments, what had once been a moon was nothing more than a widening field of shattered stone. Silence returned. Even across vacuum, destruction has a presence. A finality. There, I said quietly. Now they understand. Transmission incoming, Rex replied almost immediately. I turned. So soon? Yes, Commander. Direct channel. Same source. Of course. Open it. The display flickered to life. Admiral Hayes reappeared. This time he was holding a container. Steam rose faintly from it. He took a small sip before speaking. Well, he said, that was definitely something. I stared at him. You witnessed the demonstration, I said. You understand the scale of what you face. Hayes nodded slowly. Oh, we saw it, he said. We recorded it too. Multiple angles. A voice behind him called out, energy spike was insane. Yeah, another added, I'm still running numbers. Hayes glanced briefly over his shoulder, then back at me. Gotta say, he continued, your output is impressive. That kind of coordinated firing across 300 platforms? Not easy. For a moment, I allowed a flicker of satisfaction. Recognition. Finally. You now comprehend the futility of resistance, I said. Hayes blinked. Not really, he replied. The satisfaction vanished. You destroyed a celestial body in under a minute, I said, my voice tightening. And you are unmoved? I didn't say unmoved, Hayes said. I said not convinced. The pause. Commander, he added, that was a rock. It was a demonstration of power. Sure, Hayes agreed. But context matters. I felt something begin to slip again. Explain, I said. Hayes shifted slightly in his seat. That moon, he said, no atmosphere, no biosphere, no infrastructure. No one lives there. No one depends on it. From our perspective, you spent a massive amount of energy turning big rocks into smaller rocks. It was chosen specifically to avoid unnecessary casualties, I replied. Right, Hayes said. Which we appreciate, by the way. Another voice in the background, yeah, thanks for not nuking anything important. Hayes nodded slightly. Seriously, he added, good call there. This was not the response. You fail to grasp the implication, I said. If we can do this to an uninhabited body, we can do far worse to your world. Hayes took another sip from his container. Maybe, he said. The word landed wrong. Maybe, I repeated. Yeah, he said. See, here's the thing. We've been breaking rocks like that for a while now. Silence. For mining, he clarified. Not as fast as you, obviously. Takes us longer. But same basic principle. Apply enough energy, structure fails. That is not comparable, I said. I mean, scale's different, Hayes admitted. But the concept isn't exactly new to us. Behind him, someone spoke up again. Ask him about targeting. Hold on, Hayes replied, then looked back at me. Out of curiosity, he said, how precise was that strike? Perfectly precise, I answered immediately. Every beam converged exactly as calculated. Yeah, we figured, Hayes said. Your alignment was tight. Another pause. But you know what that tells us? I did not respond. It tells us how your systems coordinate, he said. How long it takes you to synchronize firing across your fleet. How your energy output spikes before discharge. How your targeting locks behave. A quiet shift rippled through my bridge. Commander, Rex said softly, they are analyzing the demonstration. Of course they were analyzing it. That information changes nothing, I said. Maybe not for you, Hayes replied. But for us, it's useful. Useful. The word echoed strangely. You were meant to be intimidated, I said. Yeah, Hayes said. We got that part. Another sip. Didn't really take though. Behind him, a different voice spoke up, sharper this time. Admiral, we've got something. Hayes glanced back. Send it. A brief flicker crossed his display. Data. Numbers. Patterns. He nodded once. Okay, he said quietly. Then he looked back at me. Commander, he continued, quick question. I said nothing. How many ships do you have in your fleet? 300, I replied. And you can see all of them right now? Obviously. Hayes held my gaze for a moment. Then he smiled, just slightly. Okay, he said. Good to know. Something cold settled beneath my thoughts. Why do you ask? I demanded. No reason, Hayes replied lightly. Just getting a clearer picture. Behind me, Rex shifted again. Commander, he murmured, long-range sensors are picking up anomalies. I did not look away from the screen. Define anomalies. Intermittent signatures, he said. Faint. Inconsistent. Possibly interference from the debris field. Filter it out, I said. We are attempting to, but... Do it. Yes, Commander. Hayes watched the exchange with quiet interest. You all right over there? He asked. Our systems are functioning perfectly, I said. Good, he replied. Wouldn't want any surprises. The word lingered. Surprises. You have seen our power, I said, forcing the conversation back. You have measured it. Your continued defiance is no longer rational. Hayes tilted his head slightly. Rational, he repeated. Correct. He considered that for a moment. Commander, he said, from your perspective, blowing up that moon was the logical next step. Yes. From ours, he continued, it just told us how you think. And how is that? I asked. That you rely on scale, he said. On spectacle. On overwhelming force. That is how wars are won. Sometimes, Hayes said. The pause. But not always. The faint unease returned. You still have time to reconsider, I said. 72 hours. Hayes nodded. Yeah, he said. We heard you the first time. He set his container down. Guess we'll keep watching, he added. Watching. Always watching. You will not enjoy what comes next, I said. Hayes met my gaze, calm as before. Commander, he said, I don't think you're going to enjoy it either. The channel closed again. This time, the silence on my bridge felt different. Heavier. Report, I said. Rex hesitated. Those anomalies, he said slowly. They are still present. Interference, I replied. Perhaps, he said. But they are increasing. I finally turned from the display. Then isolate them, I ordered. I want full clarity on everything in this system. Yes, Commander. As the crew moved to comply, as sensors recalibrated and data streams intensified, I looked. Once more at the drifting debris where the moon had been. The demonstration had been flawless. The message had been clear. And yet, they had not reacted the way they were supposed to. They had analyzed, measured, and somewhere, just beneath the certainty I had carried into this system, something unfamiliar continued to grow. Not fear, but the realization that for the first time, the demonstration had not ended the conversation. It had only begun it. The anomalies did not go away. At first, they behaved exactly like interference should, flickering, inconsistent, barely above sensor noise. The kind of thing you filtered out without thought. But as our systems recalibrated, as layers of correction and refinement stripped away the expected distortions, the signals remained. And they became clearer. Commander, Rex said, his voice no longer steady, we are isolating multiple contacts. Define multiple. The pause. Hundreds, he said. The bridge went still. That is not possible, I replied. We are verifying, he said quickly. Cross-checking across all arrays. I stepped down from the command cradle, moving closer to the central display. Show me. The projection shifted. For a moment, there was nothing. Faint. Barely visible. But they're scattered at first, then resolving into patterns. Formation patterns. No, I said quietly. Those were not present during initial scans. They were not detectable, Rex corrected. Not until after the weapon's discharge. They were there the entire time, I said. Rex did not answer. Enhance, I ordered. The system complied. The points sharpened. More appeared. Dozens became hundreds. Hundreds began to approach a number I did not like. These are not debris reflections, Rex said. They are structured. Coordinated. Chips. The word formed in my mind before it was spoken. Count them, I said. We are trying, he replied. Their signatures are inconsistent. They phase in and out of detection. Give me an estimate. Another pause. Over 1,000, Rex said. The number settled into the room like a physical weight. Impossible, one of the officers whispered. We would have detected that many vessels entering the system, another said. They did not enter, Rex said. Silence. They were already here, I finished. No one argued. Commander, a different officer called out. 3 of our vessels are reporting internal irregularities. I turned sharply. What kind of irregularities? Non-hostile breaches, the officer said, confusion evident. Unauthorized personnel detected. They are not engaging. They are moving through the ship. Security response? They are attempting containment, but the intruders are cooperative. Cooperative? I repeated. Yes, Commander. They are not resisting. They are. A new voice cut in over the internal channel, not one of my crew. Hey, sorry about this. Every head snapped toward the audio feed. We tried to keep a low profile, the voice continued, casual, almost apologetic. But I guess you noticed us. Identify yourself, I demanded. The voice said, hang on, let me find the right channel. A brief burst of static. Then the main display flickered. A new image appeared. A human. Different from the others. Younger. Wearing something less formal, covered in small compartments and tools. The human leaned slightly toward the camera, adjusting something out of frame. Hey, yeah, this works, it said. Hi. No one spoke. The human smiled. So, it continued, quick clarification before anyone panics. We're not here to fight. You are aboard my ships, I said slowly. You have infiltrated Dominion vessels without authorization. Yeah, the human said. That's on us. Sorry about that. Behind me, Rex's voice dropped to a near whisper. Commander, there are multiple of them. Across 3 ships. How many? I asked. 23, he said. The number felt absurdly small compared to the violation it represented. You expect me to believe that 23 individuals breached 3 warships undetected, I said. Technically, 24, the human on screen corrected. But one of us is just in a cargo bay taking a nap, so I don't think that counts. Silence. Why, I said, each word controlled, are you on my ships? The human scratched the side of its head. Recon mostly, it said. Getting a feel for your layout, systems, that kind of thing. You admit this freely, I said. Yeah, it replied. You were gonna find us anyway once your sensors adjusted. No point pretending. Rex looked at me. They wanted to be detected, he said quietly. The human nodded as if hearing him. Pretty much, it said. It's easier this way. Easier. You have violated Dominion space, Dominion vessels, and Dominion protocol, I said. This is an act of aggression. Not really, the human said. If we were being aggressive, you wouldn't have found us. The statement was delivered without arrogance. Just fact. Something cold settled deeper in my chest. Commander, Rex said, additional signals incoming. External. Of course. Put it through. The screen shifted again. Admiral Hayes returned. This time, there was no drink in his hand. Figured you'd start noticing things, he said. You have infiltrated my fleet, I said. You have surrounded us with concealed vessels. You have violated every boundary of engagement. Hayes nodded once. Yeah, he said. That about covers it. You claim you are not here to fight, I said. Your actions contradict that. Only if you assume intent, Hayes replied. We're not escalating. We're demonstrating. The word hit differently now. Demonstrating, I repeated. Same thing you did, he said. Just our version. Behind me, one of my officers spoke, barely above a whisper. They were here the entire time? Yes, Hayes said, hearing it. We were. I stepped forward, closer to the display. You allowed us to fire, I said. Yep. You allowed us to reveal our capabilities. Also yes. And in return, I continued, you reveal that you have been within striking distance this entire time. Hayes met my gaze. Now you're getting it. The bridge felt smaller. Tighter. You could have attacked, I said. We could have, he agreed. But you did not. Nope. Why? The pause. Hayes exhaled slowly. Because we're still trying to figure out if you're worth talking to, he said. The words landed harder than any weapon. You presume a position of judgment, I said. Not judgment, he replied. Assessment. Another pause. Commander, he added, you showed us what you do when you want to be taken seriously. He leaned forward slightly. So we showed you what we can do without even trying. Behind me, Rex spoke again, voice strained. Commander, if those signatures are accurate, we are outnumbered. I did not respond. I was still looking at Hayes. You have made your point, I said at last. Have we? He asked. Silence. Because the truth was, they had. Not with destruction. Not with force. But with something far more unsettling. Control. Complete, quiet, effortless control. You have 1 hour, Hayes said calmly. Then we're sending someone over. To negotiate? I asked. To talk, he said. Face to face. And if we refuse? Hayes tilted his head slightly. Commander, he said, you already know that's not going to stop us. The channel closed. No one spoke. No one moved. For the first time in my career, I stood in the center of my own command deck, surrounded by my fleet, my power, my certainty, and realized I no longer controlled the situation. Not because I had been defeated, but because, at some point I had not even noticed, I had stopped being the one setting the rules. 1 hour passed faster than it should have. Not because time changed, but because certainty had. Every report that came in only reinforced the same conclusion. The hidden vessels did not leave. The infiltrators did not resist. They moved through our ships with a confidence that suggested familiarity rather than intrusion. They cataloged, observed, even, disturbingly, organized things. Commander, Rex said, the intruders have returned all access points to their original state after inspection. In some cases, they improved efficiency. I turned slowly. Improved? Yes, he said. One of our coolant regulators was operating below optimal threshold. It is now functioning at peak capacity. Silence. They are modifying our systems, another officer said. No, Rex corrected. They are optimizing them. Optimizing. The word did not belong in this situation. Enough, I said. Prepare docking protocols. If they wish to speak face to face, they will do so under controlled conditions. You are allowing this, one of the senior officers asked. I am choosing where it happens, I replied. That was the closest thing to control I still had. Designate the central negotiation chamber, I continued. Full ceremonial configuration. Rex hesitated. Commander, if they can bypass our sensors, then intimidation may still serve a purpose, I said. Or at the very least, structure. He inclined his head. As you command. The chamber was prepared quickly. It always was. Darkened walls of polished alloy. Elevated command platform. Strategic lighting casting long shadows across the floor. 12 officers positioned in a perfect circle, each one armored, each one silent. The air cooled to a level that made breathing just slightly uncomfortable. Every detail designed to remind visitors exactly where they stood. I took my place on the raised platform. For the first time, it felt excessive. The doors opened. 3 humans entered. They did not hesitate. The first, taller, confident stride, eyes moving constantly, walked as if this were a familiar environment. No visible tension. No caution. The second, shorter, carrying a compact device, was already looking at the walls, the floor, the ceiling. Not assessing danger. Assessing design. The third moved differently. Measured. Controlled. Observant in a way that suggested intention rather than curiosity. They stopped at a distance appropriate for formal engagement. Only one of them acknowledged it. The third inclined her head slightly. "Commander Vekrath," she said, voice calm. "Thank you for agreeing to meet." Finally. Structure. "You stand in the heart of Dominion authority," I said, my voice resonating through the chamber. "From this place, civilizations have surrendered and been reshaped. You would do well to remember that." The first human looked around. Slowly. Then let out a low breath. "Wow," she said. "You really committed to the whole atmosphere thing." The pause. "It's impressive," she added. "Very dramatic." The second human stepped toward one of the walls, running a hand just above the surface without touching it. "This material," he said, almost to himself. "Layered composite. Self-repairing structure. That's actually really efficient." "Marcus," the third human said quietly. "Right," he replied, stepping back. "Sorry." The first human walked forward a few steps, then stopped again, hands loosely at her sides. "So," she said, looking up at me, "this is where the big speeches happen." "This is where decisions are made," I corrected. "Same thing usually," she said. Behind me, one of my officers shifted. "You will address the commander with proper respect," he said sharply. The human glanced at him. Then back at me. "Do you want formal titles?" she asked. "I expect appropriate conduct," I replied. She nodded slowly. "All right," she said. "Let's do that." She straightened slightly. "Captain Elena Torres," she said. "United Earth Command Liaison." She gestured slightly to the others. "Marcus Hale. Systems Specialist." Marcus gave a small nod. "Lisa Nakamura. Diplomatic Corps." Nakamura inclined her head again, composed. I responded in kind. "Commander Vekrath," I said. "First Talon of the Zarynth Dominion." Torres smiled faintly. "Yeah," she said. "We've heard." The pause. "Can we sit?" Marcus asked. "There are no seats for those who stand before Dominion authority," one of my officers replied immediately. Marcus looked down at the floor. Then, without hesitation, sat. Just sat. Cross-legged. Right there. The movement was so unexpected that for a moment, no one reacted. Torres glanced at him. "You serious?" "Yeah," he said. "It's a long trip. Also, the floor's warm." He tapped it lightly. "It's temperature regulated, right?" Rex, without thinking, answered. "Yes." Marcus nodded. "Nice," he said. Torres exhaled a quiet laugh, then shrugged and sat beside him. Nakamura hesitated only briefly before lowering herself more gracefully. The three of them, representatives of a species that had surrounded my fleet, that had infiltrated my ships, that had dismantled every expectation I had, sat on the floor of my negotiation chamber. Eating. Marcus produced a small package, unwrapping it. The scent spread instantly. Spices. Something organic and unfamiliar. "You brought food," I said. He looked up. "Yeah," he said. "Meetings take time." Torres accepted half of whatever it was, taking a bite. "Still warm," she said. "Insulated wrap," Marcus replied. "Works great." Nakamura sighed quietly but accepted a portion as well. "This is highly irregular," one of my officers said. "Yeah," Torres replied between bites. "We get that a lot." I descended from the platform. Slowly. Each step deliberate. I stopped several units away from them. "You infiltrated my fleet," I said. "You concealed an entire armada. You allowed us to demonstrate our capabilities while observing. And now you sit here as if this is casual." Torres swallowed, then looked up at me. "It is casual," she said. "How?" I asked. "Can you possibly consider this casual?" She held my gaze. "Because if we were taking this seriously," she said, "you'd already be gone." Silence. No one moved. No one spoke. The statement did not carry threat. It carried certainty. That is not a position you can support, I said. Sure it is, Marcus replied, still seated. We just don't need to prove it the way you do. Nakamura brushed her hands clean, then looked up as well. Commander, she said, we are not here to escalate. We are here to prevent escalation. You have already escalated, I said. We responded, she corrected. There is a difference. Torres leaned forward slightly, resting her arms on her knees. Look, she said, we get your approach. Show up strong, control the narrative, push for compliance. It probably works most of the time. It works every time, I said. She tilted her head. Did, she said gently. The words settled into the space between us. Something in my chest tightened. You believe you have already won, I said. No, Torres replied. She stood then, brushing off her uniform. We believe this doesn't have to be a fight. The pause. But if it becomes one, she added, you're not going to like how it ends. Behind me, Rex spoke quietly. Commander, their external formations are shifting. I did not look away from Torres. Of course they are, I said. Because now, I understood. This was not the end of their demonstration. It was only the part where they stopped hiding it. Display it, I said. The central projection flared to life. What had been faint anomalies before were now unmistakable. Lines of ships, sleek, minimal signatures, almost ghost-like, slid into visible formation around our fleet. Not aggressively. Not rushing. Every angle. Every vector. A complete sphere. Range? I asked. Variable, Rex replied. Some within immediate engagement distance. Others further out. Layered positioning. How many? The pause. Confirmed visual on 912, he said. Sensors suggest more. Torres glanced up at the display, then back at me. Yeah, she said. We figured it was time to stop pretending you couldn't see them. You were never hidden, I said automatically. Marcus actually laughed at that. Come on, he said. You know that's not true. I did not respond. Because it wasn't. They've been there since you arrived, Nakamura said calmly. You simply lacked the means to detect them. Our sensors are excellent, she finished for me. For what they're designed to detect. Silence pressed in. You allowed us to believe we held superiority, I said. Torres shrugged slightly. You assumed it, she said. We didn't correct you. Behind me, one of my officers spoke, voice tight. Commander, their ships are adjusting position in response to our weapon arrays. I turned slightly. Meaning? They are aligning to minimize exposure. Preemptive defensive positioning. They're not locking weapons, another officer added. No targeting signatures. Torres nodded. Yeah, she said. We're not here to start anything. Yet you surround us, I said. Containment, Marcus replied. Not attack. That distinction is meaningless in warfare. It matters to us, Nakamura said. I studied them. 3 individuals. Unhurried. Eating in my chamber minutes ago. Now standing beneath a projection that showed my entire fleet encircled. And none of them showed even the slightest sign of strain. You claim you do not want conflict, I said. Yet every action you have taken positions you for it. Torres met my gaze. Every action we've taken, she said, positions us so we don't have to fight. That is a contradiction. Not if you think ahead, she replied. Rex stepped closer to me, lowering his voice. Commander, if they fire first from this formation. I know, I said. We would not recover. Not in time. Not in this position. I turned back to the humans. You have demonstrated capability, I said. You have established strategic advantage. What is it you want? Nakamura answered this time. You to leave, she said simply. To retreat, one of my officers muttered, almost in disbelief. To disengage, she corrected. There is a difference. There is not, the officer insisted. There is, Torres said. One is failure. The other is a decision. I felt the weight of every eye in the chamber shift toward me. Commander. Conqueror. The one who decided. You ask us to abandon our objective, I said. We're telling you this objective doesn't end well, Marcus replied. You believe that because you have surprised us, I said. Because you have achieved temporary advantage. Torres shook her head slightly. No, she said. We believe that because we've been where you are. That caught me. Explain. She took a step closer, not aggressively, just enough to close distance. We've had power, she said. We've had weapons that could end everything. We've had moments where we thought force was the answer. And it almost destroyed us, she said. Silence. We learned something from that, Nakamura added quietly. Something you haven't yet. You presume much. Do we? Marcus said, gesturing up at the display. Because from where we're standing, you walked into a system, assumed control, and didn't notice you were being watched the entire time. The word struck harder than intended. Measured. Understood. You think this makes you superior, I said. Torres didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked around the chamber. At the shadows. At the officers. At the elevated platform behind me. Then back at me. No, she said. It just means we approach this differently. How? We didn't start by trying to scare you, she said. The pause. We started by trying to understand you. That landed. Because it aligned with everything I had seen. They had not reacted. They had observed. Every move we made had been data for them. Every display, every threat. Information. You used our own actions against us, I said slowly. Marcus nodded. Pretty much, he said. That is not diplomacy. No, Nakamura said. It's preparation. Another silence. Longer this time. Heavier. You could destroy us, I said, testing the words. Torres didn't hesitate. Yes, she said. No arrogance. No hesitation. Just truth. And yet you have not. Because we don't want to, she replied. Why? Because then we'd be you, Marcus said. That answer stayed. It lingered in a way no threat ever had. I looked again at the projection. At the ships. At the positions. Perfect. Controlled. Deliberate. No chaos. No wasted movement. They had not just surrounded us. They had done it quietly. Without announcement. Without spectacle. You could have revealed this from the beginning, I said. Torres nodded. Yeah. Why didn't you? Because then you wouldn't have shown us who you are, she said. Silence. And for the first time, I understood the full weight of that. This entire encounter had not been about intimidation. Not from their side. It had been observation. Assessment. They had let us speak. Reveal. And now they were deciding what to do with that information. You are judging us, I said. Nakamura shook her head gently. No, she said. We're giving you a choice. I let out a slow breath. A choice, I repeated. Torres nodded. You leave, she said. No conflict. No losses. You go back with your fleet intact. And the alternative? Marcus glanced up at the projection again. Then back at me. You already know, he said. I did. That was the problem. For the first time in my command, the outcome of a battle was not uncertain because of the enemy's strength. It was uncertain because of my own decisions. And that was something I had never been trained for.